Here we're using some fire blight spray here. Mix it up 1 tablespoon per 2.5 gallons, or roughly about 1.2 teaspoons per gallon. I got a dedicated sprayer, and we've got some limbs over here that this has got some fire blight on it. So I'm going to cut this off and put them in a bag. And this one here is viable. This one here is dead. So I'm going to cut this off, and then with the shears, and then go through and use a sprayer to spray the cutting shears so I can sterilize kind of the cut. So I'm going to spray this after I've done the cuts. And normally you put this on when it's in bloom. So here's some blooms right here. And I've already sprayed it, but then I was kind of waiting till the season started to see what I've got to cut out. This is an old tree, so use the fertilome here to spray during the blooming season. Last year I did it in 2 different times, in the spring and the fall, because it blooms twice. I got the gloves on because I'm fooling with basically an antibiotic. This fire blight here, you don't want to leave the twigs in the ground because the birds will grab them, bring them back in the tree for a nest, and then it increases the spread. You can see here looks like it's been burned. These didn't bud out, and then they're brittle. So since it's now kind of budding out, I can tell this needs to be cut back. Normally you cut it back farther, but sometimes on older trees you almost cut the whole tree apart. So I'm going to cut these a little bit lower than where the good area is, and then spray it. You bag them up, don't leave them by the bottom of the tree. So I end up spraying the cutting tools here with the fire blight spray. All these little twiggy pieces here I cut off with the smaller shear because it makes a good clean cut. But I'm going to go ahead and spray over with the pump-up sprayer so that the open joints get a little bit of antibiotic in there. But if you leave these on the ground, what happens, the birds grab them and make a bird's nest in a different part of the tree or another tree, and it makes the spread. So you want to not leave the cuttings. You need to burn them or throw them away. Here's a whole small branch I just cut off. It's got fire blight. These aren't blooming here, and you can see that they're kind of dark, and if you break this, there's no turgor pressure. They basically look like they've been in a fire. If you go down here, you can see this almost came out. There's a little bit of flexibility here, and if you go down the branch, had some blooms here just starting. What you typically try to do is go below 1/2 foot or 1 foot, and so to try to prevent the infection from spreading. And you remove all this stuff, don't leave it around, because a lot of this stuff stays in the bark, spreads when it rains. Since it's rained here for about this entire 2020, it's just a kind of a mess. It was 48 degrees this morning, and it's about 55 now in early March. Just coming out the bloom. So that I cut with the saw, and I sprayed that with the fertilome fire blight spray, and then I'm going to spray over the open wound. And you need to try to keep the cut so you want it kind of at an angle so that At least in this area, the water's going to run off. If it's a big cut, it's probably better not to have it like this. Have it at a slight angle if you can, so you don't, so it tends to not collect water, especially if it's a big cut.